So first off, thank you so much for attending. So I am Pete Tidwell. I run a business called The Mighty Baker. I've been in business. I've been doing my business for about 11 years now, and I've operated my business in every possible way you could really even think of. I've done a home bakery. I've almost started a food truck. I've done farmers markets. I've had two different storefronts. I've operated out of commercial kitchens. I've done wholesale. I've done retail. I've done marketing. I've done all the different things. And over the years, we'll get into this a little bit, but over the years, with my experience, I jumped in with not very much money, with the mindset of I'm just going to figure this thing out. And that was a great way, at least for me, because now looking back, I have all this experience. But now looking back, I'm like, I have been in this for 10 years and I would have saved myself so much time and money and heartache and frustration had I reached out to a mentor or listened to somebody else and really kind of learned what I was getting myself into. Because once I opened my bakery storefront shop, all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I'm like in over my head. And over the years, I've been developing ways that I can help others. And I'll share this experience really quickly before we jump in this. But when I closed my first bakery shop down in 2018, I overworked myself for 3 years, getting about 3 hours of sleep per night and working about 90 to 100 hours a week. Couldn't get myself out of my bakery. And that was one of the reasons I am starting my coaching and mentoring business, is because I want to provide help for others. Because those of you out there that want to run a bakery business or whatever it may be, that is a huge venture to jump into. And once you start, it's like super, super overwhelming. So I just wanted to put this together to, number one, share value for the community. And number two, I am a coach, and I'll be completely honest and upfront and forward with this, is that the biggest reason for doing this webinar is to share some information that I believe that if you start applying today, you will see results. And that the things we cover this week are things that you can, even before like working with somebody or hiring a coach like myself or hiring another type of coach or whatever that looks like for you, that the things that I share this week are going to help you in your business. The other thing I'm going to say too is, as we're going through this, please ask whatever questions you have. So I'm going to start with one of these quotes. So I'm a huge fan of movies. I love movies. I love Kung Fu Panda. And this is one that's going to kind of jump us into mindset a little bit. And then we're going to go over some just kind of ground rules, what we're going to be doing this week. So one of my favorite quotes is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. I share that because from a mindset perspective, I want to start this off on the right way. And from a mindset perspective, we often get overwhelmed with so many different things going on in our business and our life and all the things that we get worried about the future, or we beat ourselves up about the past, and we have a hard time living in the present and making choices in the day, in the moment, and also stopping and enjoying, right? We all wanted to start a bakery business and do that because we're trying to find joy and happiness and spreading our talents and spreading joy with others. And sometimes we can get carried away with that and kind of forget to just enjoy sometimes. So I wanted to share that quote. So as I mentioned, I'm Pete Tidwell. I am a bakery business mindset coach. I am a cake artist. I am a podcast host. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a certified life coach through the Life Coach School, hence the mindset piece. I've always wanted to do business coaching, but I always, up until about 3 years ago, I was missing something. And the biggest thing that I was missing was mindset. Hugest thing. And going to the next one. So combined, I've got 25 years of combined bakery and restaurant management experience and 7 years of corporate product marketing experience. And I really just want to help people on their journey, whatever that looks like. If that's listening to my podcast, if that is seeing my content online, if it's signing up for a coaching session, if it's whatever it is, I want to be able to be a help for this community and to help us all grow together. There's often a lot of competition within the bakery industry, and let's work together to help us achieve our dreams. These, as many of you probably, entering into your bakery business journey, I know a lot of people, at least myself, when I first started, my goal was to have my bakery storefront. And I knew in my mind in the moment, at least I was convinced that once I had my storefront, that I would be a success and that all my problems would be solved. Now, was that the answer for me? No, it was not the answer for me. It has been a wild, wild journey. I opened and closed that store, took learnings from that, opened and closed a different store, the Cake Creation Studio that I opened up during COVID, right before it stopped. And then that's what really tanked our business. But it's so interesting because through all these experiences, and I'm wanting to share this too, is that when you are putting yourself out there and opening businesses and trying to put yourself out there in your business, it does things to your confidence and your self-confidence and those things. And I want to address this piece because as we're going into this, I want you all to be successful and find what that is for you. And I want to stress this next point, that there are hundreds and hundreds of different ways that your career, your life path, your art, your hobby, whatever it is for you right now, whether that does turn into a business or whether it doesn't turn into a business, or whether you decide to do something completely different. Maybe you decide to go into content creation, YouTube channel, classes. Maybe you never open up a storefront. There's a lot of different ways that this can look for you. And also, another piece of this is if you're a home baker, there's nothing wrong with being a home baker for forever, because your costs at home are very low from an overhead standpoint. And so there's a lot of pros and cons of different ways you can operate your business. You may have seen me over the years. I've competed on Food Network a few times and other competitions, and have just had a blast over the years. And I love cake. I love desserts. I love this area because one of the things that brings me the most joy is sharing and providing amazing desserts and amazing treats for people. But along the way, it's been a tough journey, and that's where I'm here to come share some good nuggets of knowledge with you guys. So ways that you can engage, ways that you can be a part of what I have going on in my network and my community is my podcast. So I've got 50 episodes out in my podcast, a lot on mindset, a lot on business, a lot on interviews with other bakery business owners. And on there too, you'll notice this is that I'm trying to interview as many people as I can from different perspectives. I have people from franchises. I have people that are home bakers. I have people that are content creators. I have people from all different backgrounds because I really want to show to my listeners, to the community, to all of you that your success story, what that looks like, can look so different. As an example, my journey, I started as a home baker. I did farmers markets to grow out my dessert business, my wedding cake business. I opened up a storefront. I closed it. I operated from a private commercial kitchen. Then I opened up a different storefront with a completely different business concept and idea, ended up closing that down. And then now I'm taking that whole 10 years plus all my other restaurant experience years and marketing all into this bakery coaching, mentoring business that I'm putting together. We also have a Facebook group that you are more than welcome to join. I'm trying to provide value in there as well. That is a free product as well as my podcast. So this week's agenda. So we're going to be talking about this week, as you see on there, how to make more dough, how to make more money, how to make more productivity in your bakery. And I've narrowed this down to 4 areas. And I truly believe, based on my experience, that if you work on your mindset, if you learn and you also have a good mindset for marketing and pricing and time. So really it's mindset about a lot of these, but then also making sure that you have the skills and the tools necessary to be able to tackle these. So each day is going to be focused on one of these 4 topics. Day 1 is mindset. Day 2 is marketing. Day 3 is pricing. Day 4 is time. And day 5 is Q&A. So our daily schedule, we're going to be going an hour each day, noon Mountain Standard Time, and 30 minutes approximately, I'm going to be spending the time. And today is going to be a little bit more than that because it's the beginning day. But I'm going to be sharing a message each day, and then we're going to have approximately, 15 to 30 minutes for Q&A each day, as well as a Q&A session on day 5. So with that said, write your questions down or enter them into the Q&A box as we're going through. And at the end of this session, I'll answer any of those questions. And then throughout the week, I would love if you guys could participate as much as possible. Any questions that come up as we go through that you have specifically or something that I don't cover, please put it in the Q&A, because I really, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers to this. Another reason why I interview so many people on my podcast, I don't have all the answers. Every one of your journeys is completely different. I can tell you what my experience is, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and then you get to take those types of things and decide what you're going to move forward in your business with. But I really love your participation so I can understand what the needs are out in the market, because really, my ultimate goal as a coach is not to push my things upon you and the things that I think work. It is to understand what you need as a baker out there that's wanting to succeed in this industry, and allow me to help you with that and help you get to the place where you can grow your business. Because it's not about me having the answers. Probably 90% of what you need is out there in the world on the internet. Whereas the other 10% is you finding your journey and what all of this means for you and what your unique perspective is on that. And if at this point you've listened to my podcast, you've been on here for a few minutes and you're like, hey, I would love to work with Pete sometime, and I would love to see what that looks like. If that's something that's interesting to you and that you're ready to kind of jump on my website. I'll send a link after this, but unlock success with a simple call. Book a discovery call. We can talk all about what coaching is like with me, how that operates, what that looks like, and how that could benefit your business. And this is the invitation to all of you as we're starting out this week. I want each of you right now just to think just for a sec. And maybe you already have some ideas in your mind, but set an intention for this week. We all have limiting beliefs and thoughts that interfere with what we're actually trying to do in our business and in our life. And those brain objections are real, and it comes in the way of us all the time. But I want, as this invitation, as you listen over these 5 days, I want you to not just listen to what I'm saying, but I want you to think about, based on the things that I'm saying and that we're talking about, questions I'm answering, how can this apply to you? How can this apply to your business at home, right? Or in your storefront or wherever you may be? How can this actually apply to you? And what do you want out of this week? Write it down. I find that when I go into webinars like this or any type of live event, if I put together an intention or write out something that I want to get out of the week, is a huge thing for me. Okay, we're going to jump right on this. This is like my most exciting thing right here. It's kind of interesting. I've been in business for about 10 years, my Mighty Baker business, and it has taken me about 10 years to really decide behind like a mission statement, a list of values, those kind of things to help me going. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the one big piece that was missing in my business journey was my mindset, my thoughts. I went and got certified as a life coach back in 2021. And during that certification, my whole mindset flipped. So many things flipped over. And I knew and I wanted to create something as a reminder for myself. And you're welcome to use this as a reminder for yourself as well, or you can create your own. But this is something that I've done that is a daily reminder for me on how to keep myself in the right state, in the right mindset, in the right flow, so that when I do get discouraged and things feel like it's too much, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm confused, and I don't really know what to do next in my business, I can look at these principles and they remind me of what I can do in my business. So the first one is courage. So this is an acronym that I did for CAKE. So C stands for courage, A for action, K for kindness, and E for energy. And the C, the courage to believe in yourself. I know this sounds super, super cliche, you guys, and it's one of those things that people ask, like, so how are you successful? How can you be successful in your bakery business? And success comes from, and it depends on how you define success, right? What does that even look like for you? Maybe some people look at my success and where I'm at, and they're like, oh, it's exactly what I want or whatever. But I'm not rolling in the money over here. I am operating my business and I'm in the daily struggle, just like every single one of you, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. But having the courage to believe in myself and having courage to take action towards the mightiest version of myself. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is about you. This is all about you, the individual business owner, and also in your life. What does that look like for you? Take action, even though you don't know how that's going to work. Sometimes it's going to end up in a failure, and you're going to learn a lot from that failure. And we'll talk about that a little bit today as well. And the last one, or the second to last one, is kindness. So K is your kindness towards self and kindness towards others. Not only yourself as a business owner, but kindness to others in your industry. Because there's this weird like competition kind of mindset that I think comes in sometimes, where it's like, oh, I can't talk to her or I can't talk to him because he's my competition. But really, I have found that reaching out to other close people in my industry have helped me more than anything, to get customers, to grow my business, is to team up and be kind to those others. And I truly believe that kindness is contagious and will just kind of go right around and come right back for you. Energy. This is one, is that energy is derived from positive influences. So what do you surround yourself with on a daily basis? What are those things that contribute to how you show up every day? Are you surrounding yourselves by positive things or negative things? Because for me, as I've been on this long business journey, I need these types of things. And I've noticed how imperative it is to know how to kind of hack into that. If I'm sitting here at my computer and I'm feeling like worn down or whatever it may be, and feeling confused or overwhelmed, I can stop for a second and I can take a deep breath. I can get myself back into the right energy flow. And sometimes by playing some favorite music can help me get there. And so for me, Cake is Life is a big thing for me. So here's a statement for you just to think about for a sec. Think about your business. Think about how you're growing and what you're doing, what you want to do. Your mindset could be the only thing that is holding you back from your success. Because I've learned from my business coach, from others, and from my coach training, the results that you get in your life are created as a direct result of how much you believe in yourself and your product and the actions that you take from that belief, right? And like I said, it sounds a little bit like, oh, how do I do this, Pete? How do I do this? Believe in yourself. Obviously it's not as simple as just believing in yourself, but it kind of is. Like, as much as that sounds a little bit cliche, that really was what it is. Stop thinking like a baker and start thinking like a CEO of your business. And I'm going to mention this book. I don't know if any of you have read this book. I would highly, highly suggest reading this book. And also, because in this book, the example that he gives is actually a baker. And it's really interesting because it all talks about the principle of working on your business and not in it, which is exactly opposite of what happened to me when I first opened my first bakery business. I was stuck in my business, so I wasn't able to work on my business. Number 2 is create systems for everything. Focus on customer experience, develop a clear brand identity, and embrace innovation and change. And also, like, from an experience standpoint, you're not just selling pastries, you're selling an experience. So this is, I wish that the chat feature was working on this, but we're just gonna, maybe you can type this in on the Q&A, or maybe a question around this, but mainly, which mindset challenge do you struggle with the most? And maybe you don't need to answer this. Maybe just think of this as a rhetorical question, you guys. Which mindset challenge do you think you struggle with most? Or do you just think that you don't struggle with mindset, right? What is the biggest thing that comes in your way? And a few tips and tricks, and then we're going to kind of jump into some Q&A. I know these sessions are only an hour and they're going to kind of fly by, but I wanted to do some quick, just top of the line things to help just get you thinking a little bit. But some tips: you can start your day with positive affirmations, set achievable goals, surround yourself with positive people who support your growth, a business or a life coach, practicing mindfulness. Meditation can reduce stress and increase focus. Challenging negative self-talk and replace it with positive self-talk. Learning from failures and mistakes and using them as opportunities to grow. Here's a reminder of the cake is life. And I think right there, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm not going to be doing as many slides in the future, because I really want to be able to see you guys up front here and chat with you guys. And, at this point, before I go on to my next couple of things, I really want to hear from you guys, and maybe to think over the next 5 minutes as I'm going over just a couple points. Think over the next 5 minutes. If there was one question that could help me get past a challenge that I'm having in my life or business, maybe it's a business challenge. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you're feeling like, I just don't know how to do this. This is overwhelming. Let's talk about it. Put your questions in there, because I would love to answer anything and everything that you have there, because I wish that I could just show up here, you guys, on this call and tell you every last answer and every last thing that you should do as a business owner to make yourself successful and make your business successful. I wish I had all the answers for you. I have a lot of great answers, but I don't have the answer for you. And I'm talking to each of you individually, that I don't have the exact answer for you. I can if I talk with you individually, because I can really help cater what I'm talking to your individual situation. But what I have found from a coaching perspective is that all the problems that we have, for the most part, are thought problems. They're just different thought problems. It's the way that we interpret our outside circumstances, right? All the circumstances in our life, whether it is, let's talk about our business, right? If we have our bakery business and we have a slow day, or we have a customer that was mad at us or whatever, we sometimes have a thought error where we think, oh, that must mean that I'm a bad person, or that must mean that I'm not good, or whatever, when that some of that negative self-talk comes up, and we become very judgmental of our own thoughts. The unlock key, and this is the key from the call today, the very biggest unlock, is being aware how your brain operates on a daily basis. How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with success? There's an area that I'm very passionate in that is in pattern recognition and pattern awareness. And this comes down to your thought patterns. It comes down to how you deal with situations. But you can't change how you think about something until you are aware that those thoughts are happening, and that the awareness of that you can actually switch some of those thoughts and practice different thoughts. And that is an interesting area that I think can be really good. Okay. All right. We got a couple questions in here that we're going to go at here, because I think I mentioned this earlier, but the most value I find in these is when it comes to these Q&A. And so on the coming days, this is probably a learning that I just learned from today. There's a good example for you. Do something hard, like throw a webinar, and learn from every little minute that you go through. Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, I just want to answer people's questions. That's all I want to do. So the first person asked self-doubt. It is such a hard one, because for some reason, like, as we grow up, we're so like self-critical of ourselves, and we grow up in this age where we feel like we're constantly being judged by other people, and it comes down to ourself. And so really what I would say for yours, Karen, is with self-doubt, let's be curious about the self-doubt. I would suggest getting a piece of paper and writing down on the top, like, this is the things that I have self-doubt specifically on, and ask yourself why. Ask yourself, what is the reason that self-doubt comes up, and just kind of be curious and look into it. Sometimes we have the self-doubt, but then we are not willing to really look into it and be curious of why it's actually going on. And that's what I would suggest there, because self-doubt is it's a very hard one. And then this next one, just feeling like I have so this is from Becky. It says, just feeling like I have a skill to justify prices that would ever be enough to be a sustainable income. Okay, so Becky, make sure that you attend on, let's see, that is on Wednesday, because on Wednesday, we are going to be covering pricing all day long. And we're going to be covering over that, and covering over some of the mindset things, some of the skills. And we're basically going to be going over some basic business education on Wednesday. Same as tomorrow on marketing. We're going to be talking very strategically and giving you some tools that you can start implementing now. Mindset, this first day, is a little bit kind of out there because so many people have different mindset issues, but make sure you come back on Wednesday, because pricing is going to be a really good one. So you have Monica, social media is foreign to me. I don't want to make the time to do it because I get overwhelmed. Agreed. It gets very, very overwhelming to, like, it's a different thing as well. And then you have like 6 different platforms too. Every single one's a little bit different. That's something we're going to talk about tomorrow in marketing, is talking about social media and talking about, first of all, it's probably foreign because there's so many different industry or different platforms that are out there that you have to learn. But also ask yourself, like, is it foreign to me because of that? Or the other thing, at least that comes up for me, is that social media is sometimes scary, like getting on the camera and actually talking to people and saying things. Like, some people don't like to do that. We're going to talk through some skills tomorrow and things that you can do to be able to show up a little better there. And if you don't want to get in front of the camera, I've got some great strategies there that we can talk through as well. Christine, to not be afraid of money, if that makes sense. Oh, huge. Money mindset is it is one that we can work on as well. There's a lot of interesting things there. Because from a money mindset, a lot of us, and this goes back to that last question about pricing, is when you're putting out prices out there and you're putting that out there, you're putting a value on your work and you're putting a value on that. And sometimes we get into thinking like, well, maybe I don't deserve the money, or maybe I shouldn't charge that much because I don't know if I can, or whatever those thought errors or thought things that come up. Be curious about those and let's look into them and start examining those. We're going to talk a lot about that on Wednesday on pricing, of that mindset around what you deserve as a artist, right? All of you out there are artists in one way or the other, or maybe you're just a business owner and you employ artists, either one, right? But that is an area, and I'm still working on my mindset. My coach that I have a business coach that I have, and he helps me a lot with money mindset things because it's a big shift. There's a lot of great books about money mindset as well that I will suggest. I'll have to send some links on in some of the emails because there's some really helpful, there's really helpful areas there that we can really dive into. Okay, we got Michelle Gillespie. I'm just getting started. It's overwhelming when I think about everything that needs to happen: branding, supplies, timing, business plan. What tips do you have for prioritizing the beginning and how to transition into actually starting? Huge, amazing question, Michelle. Amazing question, because there's so many things to deal with. And from a prioritized standpoint, really, first off, I would say list out everything that you think you need to do in your business. And when it gets down with your list specific, I'm going to answer it specifically to your list, because branding and business plan are probably your biggest priorities out of all those, right? Because once you have those figured out, you can then figure out what supplies you're going to need, what timing, all those kind of things. But I would get very, very clear on your business plan, your sales projections, your branding. Like, what is it that you do? And this goes back to like mindset as well, as like your branding and your business plan. A lot of that is based in like, what is your why? Like, who are you? Why do you do what you do? And how do you deliver that to people, right? What does that look like? And not overwhelming yourself too much and taking on too many things. I was talking to a client the other day about this, where they were wanting to produce so many different desserts and like wanting to get in all these different areas. Well, what if we did this? And what if we did this? And what if we did this? And I talked to them and said, no, I would suggest being extremely good and laser focused on a few items. Maybe it's one item. I don't know. That's up to you to kind of figure out, but make sure that is a piece that you are clarifying and writing those things out. That's something that I can help you with as a business coach. Other business coaches can help you with that. I'll be producing some outlines in the future and different resources as I move forward in my coaching business to help people with those kind of things. So I would say from a priority standpoint, make sure that you start outlining a business plan. And I actually have something coming out soon that you'll probably really enjoy. So Michelle, keep an eye out for that. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, we did that one. All right, you guys, I just want to make sure that I'm getting to all these. We did that one. We did that one. Keep dropping questions in here if you have some other ones coming up too. So, okay, so Marcia is answering converting people from tasters to customers. Also, how people see me, my role in their life as a coworker. Let's see here. I don't know if I if I understand the second part of the question. But converting people from tasters to customers, that is the biggest thing that I want to say on this one is, and this is going to help you a lot in your complete business journey, is focus on the things that you can control, right? The things that are in your control when you are either doing like having people taste your products and just enjoying your stuff and being like an actual customer. First of all, you have control over the quality of your product, and you have the control over the customer experience. So how people experience you, how you communicate with them, their whole experience from beginning to end, your website, your social media, like all those things, that to be able to convert them over, it's all about that customer experience that you have in there. And then how people see me, that gets very into positioning or brand positioning. So how do you want people in the market, your customers, to perceive you? How do you want customers to perceive your brand? And those are things that you get to determine, right? You can determine that and make sure that you put that in your marketing and you show up that way. And it's part of kind of building out that personal brand of yours and showing up and showing people who you are. Okay, one thing this is from an anonymous attendee. One thing I struggle with is being able to advertise, dealing with questions or objections, or even just talking to people in general when I am incredibly introverted. I love decorating, but the face-to-face part is something I have a hard time without having a panic attack just because my phone rings. I hear you. I hear you on this one. I'm more of an extrovert, and I'm very, very willing and open to, talk to anybody. But there are times, especially when customers have objections or a complaint or whatever it is, and it's a hard thing. And it's something to be patient with yourself. And you may not be able to afford to do this right now, but think about this as an option as you grow your business, that eventually you can hire somebody to do that more face-to-face part. Because you want to, it sounds like you're the decorator. You want to be in the kitchen. And that's one thing that I realized in not the easiest way. So when I opened my bakery, I decided that I wanted to wear all the hats, and I wasn't going to trust enough in my employees and other people and delegate, because I was such a control freak over everything. And I wanted to do that. But I had to convince myself over time, like, it's okay for other people to do that. And in your particular case, from the introverted side, let's think of ways that you can still do that as a solo business owner. Because you may not be able, I don't know what your situation is, but if you don't have a team and it's just you, maybe there's ways you can set up some automation or some automatic replies on your email, or intake forms that help take in a lot of those kind of things. And then with questions or objections, like, there's nothing wrong with holding on to it for a day and asking somebody else. Like, if you have a tough question or a tough objection and you don't know how to deal with it, reach out to somebody, send me a DM, and I'll let you know what I think about it. So you can get them back an answer. And we'll talk about this tomorrow in marketing a little bit, but there's also a lot of really helpful tools online right now that can really help craft together responses to help you communicate better with your customers. And there's so many things out there that can help you with that, especially If you're more introverted and you don't really want to deal with that piece of it, there's ways around it. You just got to kind of figure out that workaround, right? Okay, so we got Heather Butler. I agree it would be good to focus on mastering a few things rather than try to offer everything. How do you deal with changing trends though? Like thousands of brides are ditching the 3-tier wedding cake concept in favor of mini dessert bars. True. There's a lot of trends that are going on. So I totally 100% agree. And I really think the answer to this question, I think really depends on what stage of business are you in? Because if you're barely starting your business and you're trying to just say yes to everything and do everything, it might get a little bit overwhelming. But then again, you might need to try a few different things because you may not know what you actually want to do yet. I mean, that's part of what I fell into in the beginning, which was kind of like was it a good thing or was it a bad thing? I look back and I think it was very overwhelming and kind of ended up being a little bit part of my downfall, is that I was trying to do too many things in my bakery business. But with the trends, definitely stay on top of those trends. And if people are wanting something like that, you might have to start offering something to help appease that in your particular market. That's total possibility as well, right? And there are so many changing trends, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to adopt everything. But if you do see a trend of that going in that direction and you don't want to be left behind, or you want to be able to offer something to compete in that area, I would totally suggest trying something out. Maybe you try and do like a mini dessert bar if that's something that you're interested in doing. That's something that happened in the closing years of my business that I started noticing that happening as well. And so we added some dessert catering options for people to offer to them. And sometimes people took it, sometimes they didn't. Another thing you can do too, and this depends on your business. It depends on how you operate. But if your 3-tier wedding cake is your like bread and butter, that's what you do, that's your specialty, stick with that. But then maybe you offer mini dessert bars, but maybe you contract it out from another place. Maybe you buy desserts from somewhere else wholesale and you turn around and sell them to somewhere, or you team up with another bakery to do it and you get a little cut off of it. There's so many different creative things that you can do. The reason I say that is because when you get into business, and it also depends on what your goals are for your business too, because if you want this business to be something that is growing and bringing in a certain amount of money, then you're going to need to flex with the trends and change and pivot as you go. I hope that answered your question. Those are the thoughts that came over on my mind. If I didn't answer it fully, please like write out another question or save it for the last day, and we'll definitely, dive into that a little bit more too. Okay. So Marcia, if I am a coworker with a home bakery, now I'm starting a business and now they need to see me through a different lens. Okay. Yeah. I think it sounds like you're starting a like actual bakery business physical location. I kind of take that as, hopefully that I'm clarifying that. True. It's like when you're a home baker, people have a different perception, I think, sometimes. And with that, it's changing your branding a little bit. And I think that's something you just take on head on with them, like with your customers, with the people you're talking to, that you're like, now I am in this place for my business and I have grown my business. Thank you so much for your support. I was a home baker and now I'm growing into this. And just that right there is showing to them that you are pushing in your business. You are working, you're trying to grow that out. I hope that helps your question there. Last one is question about baking laws in Utah and if that's okay. Home baking, from what I understand, is intended for consumption at home. So that counts out weddings. Cottage baking doesn't allow refrigeration, required foods for cheesecake. Micro kitchen says that doesn't allow anything for meat, but it doesn't allow catering. How do I legally cater weddings and cold refrigerated foods? Do I have to rent a commercial kitchen, get a catering license? Okay. All right. Good. That's a good question. So as far as I understand it, the home baking consumption law in Utah, you can sell pretty much any food from your place, but you can't tell people that you're licensed, and there's some venues that may not allow you to actually bring your food in because you're not like an official cottage food licensed business. You're gonna have to really check with the different venues and those kind of things. But if you want to legally cater weddings with cold and refrigerated foods, then yeah, I think you're gonna need to be in a commercial kitchen of some sorts. You can rent one of those. There's some different incubator kitchens that are in Utah County. I know of a couple up in Salt Lake County as well. If you want to be able to do cold and refrigerated foods, I think you do have to be from an actual licensed facility. Because as well, like when it comes to farmers markets, most farmers markets won't allow you to sell unless you had to have a cottage food license. So, and that's different than the Home Food Consumption Act as well. So that's some areas there. And a catering license, you don't necessarily have to get a catering license, but you do need to have your food produced in a licensed commercial kitchen. And this is not, and it seems like a headache, and it seems like a bunch of things to jump over when you're getting into business. But the reasons for some of these is if somebody were to get sick from your food and you weren't fully licensed, you could be in a lot of trouble, right? You could get sued, you could do all sorts of things. So that touches a little bit on, as you grow your business, you probably want to have a business insurance policy to cover just in case something like that were to happen in your business. Okay. As a home baker, how can we communicate with our customers the higher price of our baked goods compared to grocery or Costco pricing? How can we say to convince them to pay the higher price and be continued customer of ours? Well, this is a great question. This is very, very good question. I like this a lot, and the answer is an interesting one because the people. Okay, I'm just gonna say this: the people that are buying grocery store and Costco treats, they're probably not your customers. You may never talk them in to paying a higher price for your goods. You just need to continue producing what you're producing at your high quality at that price and continue communicating that value and talking about it and all those kind of things. And maybe eventually some of those people will come over, but from a marketing standpoint, from marketing like segmentation, you're not going to produce a product that's going to be good for everybody, right? And there's many people, depending on your market, right, that they unfortunately just don't see the value in getting a high quality baked good. They just don't. It's like when I had my storefront bake shop back in 2015, there was a lot of people that thought my stuff was too expensive, so they didn't come. And so that's just understanding too and we'll talk about this tomorrow, is like, who is your customer? Who is your customer? Who's looking for your goods? Because you might not convince those people into buying your product. You may be able to, but that's where, and also too, you could do side-by-side testing too. This could be a fun social media idea as well. If you wanted to, is you could get a cake or a cookie from Costco and you could have yours, and you could have like a side-by-side testing kind of thing. You could totally do something like that to help them see that. Maybe that's something you put across in your marketing where you're like, hey, you could go to Costco and buy this cake, or you could come to my place and you could get this delicious cake that is a specialty flavor. It's freshly baked. It's decorated beautifully. It's artisan, all these kind of things. Those are ways you can communicate that value. But that's what I would say with your question is communicate value, and whether they value high quality, good tasting desserts or not, that's up to them. But and this goes back to the lady a few minutes ago, I can't remember her name, that was asking about branding and positioning and those kind of things. This is just where you decide from a branding positioning standpoint, this is my brand, this is me, these are my products, this is how much I charge, and this is the value that I'm communicating. And customers can then either choose to buy or choose to not buy. And that's hard because some people are just going to go buy Costco cakes, but that's because they might not have the money to buy the other product. I know it's really frustrating, and I remember getting in this place so much. Okay, let's see. Marcia has a couple other things here. I am thinking not about doing any sales now, selling from home, Baking Freedom in Utah. You can deliver or they can pick up, but you can't cater. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying with that home law. You can do any food. You can do any food that way, but yes, it's just but maybe I wonder if you could ask with that, because I'll look into this site a little bit, because when you talk about catering, there's two different types of catering, right? There is full service catering where you're bringing everything and you're filling it up, you're bussing tables, you're helping, like all those kind of things. Or there's just the drop off catering. So this might be a way that you can get around this, actually. And I'm not trying to tell you to not follow the law, but if you're able to deliver from there, then you can deliver those goods and the customer can then put them out on a platter, right? It's a completely different type of catering. But anyway, I'll look into that a little bit more, because I don't want to guide you astray necessarily, but that's an opportunity. And also you could tell the people that want for the wedding, you could tell them, hey, I'm not allowed to cater them, but you're allowed to order them from me and you can pick them up, or I can deliver them to the place. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because the customer can do whatever they want with those products, right? So anyway, that's how I would answer that question. Okay. So this hour went by way quicker than I thought. And so I really, really appreciate you guys. First off, attending. I really, really appreciate those of you that have jumped on here. We just have a few minutes left. As a reminder, come back every day. We're going to be having some amazing things. Tomorrow's marketing. You don't want to miss tomorrow. You do not want to miss tomorrow. Today's was a little bit kind of rapid fire with a lot of different things. Tomorrow's marketing, and Wednesday is pricing, and those days are going to be some really valuable days. I would really highly suggest that you guys attend on those days. Remember that these live webinars are free. If you want any recordings of any of these webinars, then those are going to be available afterwards. And when it comes to questions, please write down any questions as well as you're leaving this call. And as we're going into the next few days, write down all the questions. And even if it's later this afternoon and you're like, oh, I should ask Pete this week, let's do it. Please bring all your questions. That's the other thing I wanted to say too, is when it comes to business, I'm an open book here, you guys. I want to share with you everything. I'll share with you all my successes. I will share with you all of my failures, all the things that I did horribly wrong in my business. There's so many things. I will tell you all those things, because I want nothing more than to provide the resources that you guys need in order to grow the life and the business that you guys want. So with that said, come back and see me tomorrow at noon again, same time tomorrow. Bring your questions, please. And also too, like I said before, if any of you are ready to jump on a call and book a discovery call, I'll send an email with a link in there. and I would love to see your name pop up on my coaching schedule. So thank you so much, you guys, and we will see you tomorrow. And as a reminder, as always, I always say this, have a mighty day and hang in there and enjoy your day. We'll see you guys later. Thank you.